No Trae Young, no problem for the Hawks. They came up clutch with that game 4 win without their superstar. Now back to Milwaukee for game 5 with question marks around both Young and Giannis. So the home team getting the edge on the DK Sportsbook. They're 2-point favorites. Can the Bucks take back control of this series? What do you think?
We know so little about this game and about this series. It's getting ridiculous at this point, where we have one team in the NBA Finals, where we have a 3-game series between the Giannisless Bucks and the maybe Trae Youngless Hawks to determine who goes to the finals. Look, if Trae Young doesn't play, the Bucks arguably still have the 2 best players on the floor in Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton, 2 all-star level players. And the Hawks role players, Lou Williams gave him a spark. Milwaukee wasn't ready for that. And Milwaukee arguably was on their way to come back and win that game until Giannis just completely took the air out of the game when he went down. So for me, picking games at this point is becoming pretty difficult, as we know on this segment. But if the Bucks are maybe contrarian, I'm kind of leaning towards the Bucks having the better players, being at home. The Hawks, if Young doesn't play, kind of not being able to replicate that performance on the road. And if Young does play, having a little bit of rust. He looked pretty bad coming in those last 9 minutes that he did play on the foot injury. So if they're going to put the ball in his hands for 35 minutes, I think that could cause some issues after how well they gelled in the last game. So one way or another, I'm kind of talking myself into the Bucks in this game. People forget, an MVP level player went down, but Milwaukee really does have the 2 next best players in this series outside of Young, who we have to see what he looks like.
Kenny, are you backing the Bucks?
I am not backing the Bucks. I haven't backed the Bucks pretty much all series long. I can't do it. I think that the Bucks have really difficult time scoring the basketball. And when you look at Jrue Holiday, Julian mentioned Jrue Holiday was a guy that was one of the better players on the floor. Jrue Holiday has just not been good for the last 2 games. That's the harsh truth. And when you look at the Hawks defense has been good all postseason long. So I just think that this is a team that has a very difficult time coming up with ideas on the offensive end. I don't expect Chris Middleton to be good on a nightly basis anymore. That's just not what we've seen this postseason. And the one thing we do know about this series is the Hawks have played, good defense and the Bucks have played okay defense. And so if I have to take one of the 2 offenses to kind of break that tie, it's going to be the Hawks every time, especially even without Trae Young. They still have the shooting to get it done. It's really difficult to believe in this Bucks team on a nightly basis. They've given us, guys, what has it been like? Two good halves of basketball, 2 good games. And other than that, it's just been a bunch of garbage from this team, and they have the significantly worse coach. So, no, I won't be backing the Bucks at any point the remainder of this series.
All right, Nick, what are you doing here?
I can't back the Bucks either. I think Julian's right that they do have 2 of the 3 best players, assuming Trae Young is back at some point, remaining in the series. But Jrue Holiday has not looked like himself really throughout the entire playoffs. He's had a couple moments here and there, but on the whole, I think he's been really disappointing. And, that first half, especially of game 4, that's the type of game where Chris Middleton reminds everyone why people can never decide if he's actually a legitimate star in this league. He'll go for 38 points. He'll have 20 and a quarter. He'll win them game 3 and then come back with arguably his worst half of the entire playoffs when the Bucks, should have had an opportunity to be up without Trae Young in that game, probably be up 15 or 20 at halftime. Instead, they're the team that's facing a monster deficit. They have to crawl back. And obviously, once they lose Giannis, there was no chance of that happening. So I have no idea what to expect from Middleton game to game. That's where he separates himself, I think, from the truly elite wings and guards in the league who are night in, night out contributors. He's just not that guy. And like Kenny said, the Bucks have struggled with Giannis so far. I mean, they've struggled defensively. They've been an okay defensive team with arguably the most versatile defensive player in the league. You take him away, and not only are you losing a 2-time MVP, but you don't really have any great options behind him. Like the thing with Atlanta, you could lose Trae Young for a game. You have Lou Williams who can step up, and he played his best game of the playoffs in game 4. You have Bogdanovic, who obviously has been banged up, but played really well in game 4. Cam Reddish gave them decent minutes. Chris Dunn even gave them some decent minutes. Like the Bucks have no options beyond the 7 guys that they've already been playing. You take away the best and most versatile of those guys. I don't even know what the solution is. Like, is it 30 plus minutes of Pat Connaughton? Is it 30 plus minutes of Bobby Portis? Like, the Bucks have like 5 guys at the end of the bench who are never going to play. They're all basically like fringe second rounders. They're just not a very deep team. And especially when you take away Giannis, that becomes, extremely exacerbated.